this, but it's good to. I want to wish you all the best, whatever program that's upcoming in your lives. Okay. So I think we just finished praying, and now we will move to this. We'll just do a plain reading of the text, and I will pause in some moments and I will ask you some questions. Okay. I think you all know the story of Samson, but it's good to go back to the text because sometimes you can, forget something and something comes to your mind in a fresh new way. Okay. So here it is. Does anybody want to volunteer to read? Okay. Even if you have your Bible, you could read it from that if you want to. But I think some of you may be just tired at the end of the day, so I'll go ahead and help you out here. Okay. The birth of Samson. This is how Samson was born. Now, please remember that this was one of the worst times in Israel history, was the fallen times, because it was a time when in the book of Judges itself is written, everybody did what was right in their own eyes. Nobody really followed God. Everybody was their own king, because this was a place when Israel did not have a king. There were some temporary rulers and they were called judges, and judges were people who were supposed to settle the dispute. They were like tribal leaders. They were supposed to settle the disputes and the people, and also defend the people from outside enemies. So that's how it was. So Samson was also supposed to be one of the judge. Okay, and then we look at some of these things, and you please give me your answer. Really feel free, because when you talk, it's going to be it will help others also. Okay, so here it comes, the birth of Samson. Again, the Israelites did evil in the eyes of the Lord, so the Lord delivered them into the hands of the Philistines for 40 years. Okay. So this is what used to happen. So every time Israel would disobey, God would let the Philistines or outside enemy come and dominate them. And then the, God would raise judges or heroes who would rescue Israel at that. Okay, so this was one of those times when again Israel was disobedient and God had put them in the hands of the Philistines. And a certain man named Zorah from Manoah, from the clan of Danites, had a wife who was childless and unable to give birth. And the angel of the Lord appeared to her and said, "You are barren and childless, but you are going to become pregnant." Okay, and to her son, and now see that you do not drink any wine or fermented drink. You do not eat anything unclean. Okay, you will become pregnant and have a son whose head is never to be touched by a razor, because a boy is to be a Nazarite, dedicated to God from the womb, which means Samson was supposed to live a holy life all his life. He was supposed to follow all the commandments of God. Nazarite means he was consecrated, set apart for the Lord, and he had to have long hair. Okay, so he was supposed to be one of the most exemplary person of holiness. He was set apart for God. So he could not do everything what everybody did, so he was kind of consecrated. Now, he will take the lead in delivering Israel from the hands of the Philistines. Okay, that was God's plan. Now, then the woman told her husband, "A man of God came to me. He looked like an angel, and he told me this. But he said to me, you'll be pregnant and not to drink." So she narrates the story. Then Manoah says, "Lord, pardon your servant, Lord. I beg to let the man of God you sent us come again and teach us how to bring up the boy," which means they wanted to know how to raise this kid. Okay, now God heard Manoah, and while she was her husband, Manoah was not. The woman hurried to her. He's here, the man who appeared to. So he comes back, that man, and So he again says, "When your words are to what is to be the rule governs the boy's life and work." And so the angel of the Lord again says, "Your wife must not," repeats all the things. "She must do everything I've commanded her." So there are some rules given right from before Samson's birth, and he was born. And God's purpose and God's plan for Samson was to deliver Israel from the Philistines. Okay. Now, can I ask you a question? Do you think God has made a plan for each of one of us before we were born?
Yes.
Yes. Okay. Alishana believes that with conviction. Angel, what about you? Do you
Yes,
think there's a plan? Yeah.
yes,
So,
God do have a plan.
yeah, God has a plan for each of us, our life. Okay. Now, we might think that our life is unsuccessful if our own normally whose plans are greater, our own plans for our life or God's plan for our life? What is greater?
God's plans.
God's plan for our life. But do you think it can happen that sometimes we make our own plans and those plans can sometimes keep us from understanding God's plan, or sometimes we can be too much uh, engrossed or disappointed because our plans don't work out? Do you think that can happen? Anyone? Jatin, Ebin, Angel. Do you think our own plans can actually become a problem? Yeah, we are supposed to make plans. Yeah. Do you think it's good to plan your own life, by the way?
No, because we are born
Huh.
with purpose,
But
and God
if you
knows.
if you don't know the purpose, what do you do? Hmm. So the correct answer is you should make your plan, trust in the Lord, acknowledge the Lord in all your plans, but you should not make it in a rigid way, in a strong way. Oh, this is what I want and I want. If this doesn't work out, then I'm not going to talk to God. You should make plans, but make it in a way that it's all subject to God's will. If God doesn't allow it to happen, then say, no problem, Lord. I will always love you. I will obey your plan. So that's very, very important. Sometimes our own plans can become our stumbling block. It can really keep us from following. So make plans. It's good for us to make plans. Nobody is telling you not to make plans, but you should always say, Lord, let your will be done first. Let your purpose be fulfilled first in your life. Now, some people do know what their calling is. They do know what God's purpose is, and it's good if they know and they can keep pursuing that. But sometimes you genuinely don't know. You're trying to find out. So in the meanwhile, make your plans, but always let it be subject to the Lord. Okay. Any doubt here? Yeah. Okay. Got it. So yes, do plan, but let it all be under God's plan. Yeah. Now, okay. So now the angel of the Lord replied, even though you detain me, I will not eat any of your food. But if you prepare a burnt offering, offer it to the Lord. And so this is the first chapter is all about the birth, and it's all about giving the offering and how their reaction is. So we'll not focus so much on that. We'll focus on Samson only. Now the woman gave birth to a boy. Yeah. Now, one of the things was that so he grew and Lord blessed him, and the Spirit of the Lord began to stir him while he was in Manasseh between Zorah and Esther. Now, was Samson's upbringing do you think Samson was a very pampered boy? That his parents gave him what he wanted, let him be free? Or do you think he was brought in a lot of rule and discipline? Anyone? There were rules, and what do you think? Because sometimes some kids are pampered. No? Parents give them freedom. तुमको क्या चाहिए बेटा ले लो. तुमको ये चाहिए ले लो. Take this. I'll give you what you want. So do you think Samson was brought up with that kind of attitude? You can do what you want, or do you think he was brought up in a disciplined way? Anyone? Eben, Jatin, Alishina, Angel, come on. Anyone? What's your thinking? Do you think Samson was brought up in the right way? He was brought up with rules or disciplines, or he must have been brought up without any rules and disciplines? Come on, can I hear you? Are you able to hear me? Yeah. 1 second. Is my network not working? Okay, yeah, Alishina. So what's your answer? Can you put it in the chat if you don't want to answer? Eben, what do you think? Was Samson brought up with rules, or he was not brought up with rules and discipline? Jatin, what do you think? Yeah. Angel, what do you think? Okay, Alishina, what do you think?
I think he was pampered.
He was no, but the parents, there is no evidence of parents pampering him. There is no evidence of parents pampering him. He must have been brought up because the parents, you see, the parents say that we want to know how to praise him. So the parents were very serious about what they were doing. He was a child born out of God's miracle. So they were very serious. So they did try, they must have tried their best to follow the rules to let Samson, raise him up because they said, no, they tell the angel, God, please send him again. So he will teach us how to raise up the boy. So the parents were definitely serious and they must have tried their best. But growing up, okay, let me ask you, do you think all youngsters love, maybe children have rules, disciplines they have to follow, but when a person becomes young, do you think he likes rules and disciplines? Do you think young people like that? Do they like discipline? Do they like their parents telling them, come home at this time? You don't have to do. Do you think they like that?
No, they want freedom.
They want freedom. They don't like rules. They hate discipline. Yeah, Angel, do you agree?
Yeah, I do agree. Some youngsters don't like rules and
Yeah, yeah.
regulations and all.
Yeah. What about Eben and Jatin? Can I hear something from you? Yeah. So usually youngsters they increasingly want to break the rules. They don't like rules. They get very angry. They say, "Abhi main chota bacha nahi hu. I'm not a kid, and I'm going to break all the rules." So that's how they behave. So it looks like Samson at some point rebelled. At some point, he may have said, "Enough is, I don't want to do this." And he may have been brought up with rules, maybe pretended, but then afterwards it was not, really that. Now look at chapter 14. Samson went down to Timnah, which was not a place in Israel, and saw there a young Philistine woman. When he returned, he said to his father and mother, I've seen a Philistine woman in Timnah, now get her for me as my wife. His father and mother replied, isn't there an acceptable woman among you or relatives or among all our people? Must you go to the uncircumcised Philistines to get a wife? Now, why do you think his parents are objecting to Samson's desire to get married to a Philistine woman? Anyone? Yeah, anyone? Anyone would like to answer that? Why? Why are they saying, no, 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 Samson, you should not? So see, parents seem to be quite uh, disciplined. They are not really, sometimes parents are genuinely wanting good things, but the kids are only, they break rules, they become rebellious. So why do you think Samson's parents are protesting against Samson? Why? Eben, let me hear you. Come on. Eben, Jatin, can we hear something? Okay. All right. Angel, Alishina, go ahead.
She was a Philistine
You were
daughter.
the Philistine, yeah. And according to the God's law, you were not supposed to marry outside the
Correct.
Jewish this, yeah. Yeah. So you were not supposed, and circumcision was a covenant that we are God's people. We are not like other people. We are separate. All Jews who had to be all Israel people had to be circumcised. That is the covenant between God and Abraham and his descendants. So that's very, very important to understand. So they were a holy people, separated people. They were not supposed to mingle. They could do business, but you cannot marry somebody, right? So it's something holy and something impure coming together. Yeah. Now, can you tell me what are the reasons today quite a few Christian youngsters are getting married or falling in love with young boys and girls outside the faith? Anyone? Why do they do that? Why do they do the same thing like say, oh, I like this girl, chalo, I want to get married to, oh, I like this boy, I want to get married to. Why do you think that happens? Anyone? Can we get some kind of, what's your answer? Anybody?
Maybe
Yeah,
they have their own desires and expectations, and they did not put God first.
they did
Um,
not put,
and yeah, they would don't want God to be first in their marriage.
yeah, they don't want God to be first. They want their own desires. That's very, very
Hmm.
true. That's a good answer. Anybody else? Jatin, Ebin, Angel? Come on, boys, you're very quiet. You don't want to get married? Come on, come on. Let's have, be free, friends. We are all brothers and sisters here. We're all friends here. Anyone? Just unmute, or you could put it in the chat also.
They think that their decision is only right at some point.
They think what?
Their decision is only right.
Their decision is only right. Yes, yes. Now let's look at Samson's, what led Samson to like that girl. Can you identify something that led Samson to like that girl? Look at the opening verses in this chapter 60. 1 second. Yeah. Anyone? Is some clue are you able to find? Yeah. Where did Samson go?
Timna.
He went down to Timnah. You know, he was not supposed to go there. What happens when young people go in wrong places and mix with wrong people? What is going to happen, you think? What will
They
be
will
the,
be like them.
they will be like them. Yeah. So if a Christian young boy or a Christian young girl goes and always hangs out with boys and girls of other faith, or with or not Christians, what is going to happen? Then what is going to happen? Eventually, one day, you will become like them. You might like one of them, correct? Or somebody from them will like you, and they will keep chasing after you. Yeah. So how important it is for us to be in the place where God wants us to be. Your best friend, your closest friend should be Christian friends. It's very, very important. It's not some orthodox rule. It is the most important. If you hang out always with people of other, who worship other god or other faith, who are worldly basically, you will become like them, and eventually you will get into trouble. It's so important, therefore, friends, for boys and girls, Christian boys and girls, to be friends, and it's so important that they connect with each other. Today, so many kids, they are not friends with Christians. They are friends outside and they're always hanging out. So it is that they are going to Timnah again and again. And that's what is going to happen. And sometimes what happens is, in their family, one of their uncle or sister or somebody is married like that outside the faith. And then they start thinking it's okay. It has gone in their mind, because they've seen in their relatives, oh, that somebody is married and they are happy. Chalega. So chalta, it's okay with them. And that is a big, big trap. We should always be a Nazarite, set apart for the Lord. Never play with God's rule. And look how terrible the consequence was when this happens. Now, definitely, God is going to work in this also for his purpose. It doesn't mean God is letting Samson do that, but God is willing to work in that. And that is what we see, that this was something that the Lord was also working in that situation. Okay. Now, Samson went down to Timnah, his father and mother. So he went, he liked that girl, get her for me, he insisted. He fought with his parents. Again, shows that he was not a person who really was obedient to the law. Although the rules were given, he started rebelling. He became disobedient. Now, it's very important to ask that when you are, if today you are young, maybe some of you will marry later on. But if your attitude is like this, in your mind, you have become rebellious. You don't like rules and disciplines. You are going to become increasingly bad, increasingly rebellious. Increasingly, you will make bold choices. Now, this may not have started just with Samson saying, I want that girl. He could have actually just said, I want to go and hang out with my friends tonight. I want to go and eat out. Even though his parents may have said no. But he kept breaking rule after rule till he said, I'm going to marry this girl. So it was like that. So every time you break a rule, you're moving forward to doing something more disastrous. So this is what Samson anyway finally did. Now, the Spirit of the Lord came powerfully upon him so that he tore, so then they went, so anyway, he pushed his parents, they went to Timnah, and suddenly a young lion came roaring towards him. The Spirit of the Lord came powerfully upon him so that he tore the lion apart from his bare hands as he might have torn a young goat. But he told neither his father nor his mother what he had done. Then he went down and talked with the woman and he liked her. Okay, so look at this, it's very important. He went to Timnah and he saw this young Philip. His eyes first, he looked at her and he gazed at her and he got attracted to her. So attraction is how it starts. Attraction. If you let your eyes wander everywhere, here, there, that's what. So you should not only be disciplined in doing your muscles and fitness, but your eyes also have to be trained. Don't let your eyes waver here and there. It's very, very important to be disciplined. So he saw her and he got attracted to her. Anyway, now he goes forward. He wants to meet her. He talks to her. He likes her. So more temptation. What's the harm in seeing? What's the harm in going there? What's the harm in talking to her? And so temptation after temptation. Now, this happened. Now, so now the Spirit of the Lord, now he kills a lion, and on the way back, sometime later, he went back to marry her. He turned aside and looked at the lion's carcass. So this is marriage. Now he's gone to marry her. Okay, mission marriage. Now he sees that the lion that was killed, it had got some honey in it, and he eats it. Now this is also a wrong thing because Israelites were not supposed to touch what is dead. So he's breaking another rule. He takes some honey, eats it, gives it to his parents also, doesn't tell them from where it has come. Now and they hold a feast, and now in that feast there were 30 men given to him to be his companion. Samson tells him a riddle, out of the eater something to eat, out of the strong something sweet. And then he says, if you can't, so the thing is, if they can solve the riddle, then they will 30 linen of garments and 30 sets of clothes he will give them. But if they cannot solve the riddle, then they have to give it to Samson. So something like that's how it is. Now on the fourth day, they said to Samson's wife, now coax your husband into explaining the riddle to us. We will burn you and your father's household to death. Did you invite us here to steal our property? Now those people come and tell Samson's wife, okay? Now this is marriage. These days are going on feasting days. And tell us the answer for the riddle. Now, do you know, by the way, does anyone know, welcome Ezra, the name of this Philistine woman? Does anyone know what it is? Anyone?
No.
No, good. Thank you, Eben, for responding. There is no name given, actually. There is no name given. She was not Delilah. Delilah was not the first woman. There was another woman in Samson's life, okay? So this is this first Philistine. It's very, very important now. Now look at what they say to her, that if you don't get that answer from him, we will burn you and your father's household to death. Did you invite us here to steal our property? See, now this is how they are threatening. Okay. Now these are the people whom they said, why don't you stay with Samson? 30 people, give him company. But look at how they are trying to, they want Samson to tell the answer, and they're threatening their own people. Now Samson's wife threw herself on him, sobbing, you hate me, you don't really love me, you've given my people a riddle, but you haven't told me the answer. I haven't even explained it to my father or mother, she replied. So So she cried the whole 7 days. The feast was for 7 days. So on the 7th day, he finally told her, because she continued to press him, she in turn explained the riddle to her people. So after she cries every day, she nags him, saying, "You don't love me. You're not going to explain this to me. See, you don't really love me. Look at these words. You don't really love me. You hate me." Now Samson loves her, but she's telling him, what is this thing called? You don't love me. You don't do the, what is it called? Does anybody know? To make people do things like this by telling you don't love me. What is it?
Blackmailing.
Yes, correct.
Blackmailing.
Yeah, emotional blackmail. Emotional blackmail. So you should always be very careful of people who are trying to tell you to prove their friendship to you. They are not your friends. Be very careful of people who try to prove, to make you, force you do things in the name of this. If you're really my friend, you will do this for me. If you really love me, these are manipulative people. You should never try to prove yourself to anyone. Even proving yourself is actually weak people do that. You should never do that. Okay. Now Samson is forced to do this emotional blackmail. Now in many relationships, many these boys and girls, they fall in love, and many of them, they are always doing this emotional blackmail. If you love me, you do this for me. If you love me, you do this for me. This is very unhealthy. This is what happens. Many people are just, they are troubled. They don't even know that this other person is manipulating them again and again. They feel that, oh, I have to do this. It's my duty. Oh, yeah. And that's how it is. They really suck the life out of you. It's very good. If you have not fallen in this relationship, it's very good. This is where Samson's misery is starting now. So this girl comes and she keeps on telling him, you don't love me. And she wants to protect herself. She's only concerned about herself. And then she takes this truth out of Samson. Now what happens? Finally, so they get the answer, and then they answer, what is sweeter than honey and what is stronger than lion. The Spirit of the Lord comes. Samson goes and beats some people, take their clothes and all, jabardasti, and he gives it to them. And what happens? And Samson, burning with anger, he leaves that place and returns to his father's home. He just leaves that place. It's his wedding ceremony. 7 days are going on. He just leaves and go. And then what happens is Samson's wife is given to one of his companions in the same feast. Don't know what their custom was, but the father thought he's not coming back, because that's what it said. Later on, at the time of meal, suddenly Samson's mood changes after some time. His anger cools down. He said, I'm going to my wife's room, but the father would not let him go in. Now what happens is, he says, I was so sure you hated her. I gave her to a younger companion. Isn't her younger sister more attractive? Take her inside. So the father-in-law thought, he's not coming back. Let me give it it's marriage. She's newly married. In this feast only, I'll give her to someone else. Okay. And he gets her married. Now, who is at fault here, really? Samson's first marriage, he loses his bride. Who is at fault here? What really happens here? Does anybody want to answer that? Was Samson's father wrong in calculating that Samson may not come back? I mean, is that something he could have calculated? Was it something wrong? Anyone? Jatin, Ebin? Okay. Now look, Alishina, Angel, what do you think? That was some kind of a custom, I've heard that, our maid is from Nepal, and she was saying also that one day that in their when the Bharat comes for wedding in their culture, and if at that time the girl runs away, then somebody from that village or the relatives, younger sister, somebody has to marry them. That, it's considered wrong to, that kind of thing. So it was maybe a cultural thing like that. They sent her with somebody else at that time. So was it, whose mistake was it here? Okay, now let me point you to something here. Burning with anger, he returned to his father's home. Do you understand that? If he could have stayed there, he could have accepted his that has happened. He was angry, he was furious, and he left his father's home. Was that a good move or a bad move in terms of his marriage? Was that something good he did? That in anger he left without saying anything to anyone, he left. Was it a good thing or a bad thing? Do you think people are acting correctly when they get angry? When you are burning with anger, do you act? Are you capable of taking the right judgment and do the right action, or do you always, you're not able to think clearly? And sometimes you can do things out of anger. You can do something wrong. What do you think? Huh? Ebin, Jatin? Yeah. Angel, you want to say something? Okay, Alisha. Yeah, out of anger, yes. It's a wrong thing. Yeah. So Samson acted out of anger. Yeah. He left everybody clueless. Very, very important to ask, what is your attitude to anger? Do you think anger is a good thing? Do you often get angry? In our culture, we look at movies and we think anger is a good thing. But according to the Bible, anger is a sign of weakness. Only weak people get angry. Losing temper is not a good thing. Losing temper is a very bad thing. Yeah, we have to always try to keep up. Now, when Jesus was furious, he was not furious about his selfishness. He was furious about God's thing, and there was a godly anger there. That was a righteous anger. It was an anger that God gave to him. But our anger is when our ego gets hurt, our selfish desires are not fulfilled, then we get angry. So if you're angry right now with someone, or you could be angry with God, examine what is the source of anger. Is it because your own agenda is not fulfilled? Is it because your own desire is not fulfilled, which is carnal and worldly, that you're angry or you're upset? And if you're doing so, you're also not just angry, you're also taking some wrong decision in these times. You should never act in a state of anger, because you will do even worse after that. People kill each other in anger. Do you know road rage? How people attack each other on the road and they end up killing that person, even though they have never seen that person before. So anger can blind you. It's very, very dangerous. If you are in your family known for your temper, don't be proud of it. Be ashamed. Repent. Ask the Lord today to remove that anger. Okay? Now, Samson's wife was given to one of his companions who had attended. So that's happened now. Samson comes with a young goat thinking, okay, now I'll patch up with my father-in-law and all that. He says, your wife is gone. Okay, now Samson said to them, okay, then he gets more angry and he takes 100 foxes, ties their tails. He puts, those kinds of torches and he sets them in the Philistine fields and they burn. Now the Philistine gets so angry. They were told it was Samson who did this because his wife was given to his companion. So the Philistines, what they do, they go to her father, that girl's father, and they kill him and they burn him and his daughter alive. Can you imagine? They actually carried out the threat which they are told in the time of the wedding. If you don't answer us, we will burn you, and they actually done it. This is what is very dangerous. You know, if you are somebody who hangs out with people who believe, I am very broad-minded, मैं सबके साथ friendship करूँगा, you don't have a clue how they will behave afterwards. You have not seen their angry side. Some people can be so revengeful. It's very important to stay with God's people, because even if they get angry, they will never do anything that's outside the Lord. Of course, there are sometimes Christian people also make mistakes, but this is people who have no fear of God, living God. They will act anyhow. So be very careful, friends. Don't hang out. See, you will know only when they get angry, then you will come to know their real colors. And this is what has happened. Okay. Now, anyway, they burn her and her father to death. Now, Samson again gets more angry. I'll get my revenge. He attacked them and slaughtered many of them, and he went down and stayed in the rock of Etam. Now, Philistines went up. They were more in majority. They had an army. Israel was their servant, and they told Judah, "We have come to fight you. So we have come to take Samson prisoner." So these 3,000 men from Judah went down to the cave in Samson and said, "Are Baba, don't you know that they are our rulers? They are like, we are living only because of their mercy. So what have you done to us?" So here, you see, they are not praying to God. This was a very bad state. Everybody just reacted to the situation. Everybody was doing what they thought was right. So they go to Samson. They said, "Come on, give yourself to them." And no dependence on God. And it's very important to think about how we are also. We are always sometimes reacting to situation. Ye hoga to aisa karega to waisa. That's why we have to always prayerfully take our decisions. Ask the Lord. Now, so Samson says, "I merely did to them what they did to me." It's called tit for tat. उन्होंने मेरे साथ जैसा किया वैसा ही मैंने उनके साथ किया. So do you think this kind of attitude is good? What you do to me, I'll do that to you. Is that a correct attitude? Is that a correct way of thinking?
No.
It's not a good thing. So what is the right way of thinking? What's the right thing? Why is it not good otherwise? Whatever you did to me, I did it to you. It is very much accepted in this world. But why is it not right according to the Bible? Anyone?
We are taught to love people who did wrong to us, like Jesus did, even
Yes.
when they crucified him.
Correct. Yeah, because God did not do to you what you deserved to be done to you. God did not judge us and send us to hell. He forgave us. He gave his son. He punished his son instead. So because God has forgiven us, we have to forgive. So this is a very wrong kind of thinking. Don't react. Don't think like that. It's very, very important. Somebody has insulted you, I will also insult him back. Somebody said something new to be, I will also. That's not the way we are supposed to react. Okay. It just makes things worse. Today, many people are fighting with each other from generations because they killed my uncle. I will kill one of them. So it's just going on like that. Now they go to, anyway, they said, "You come tie," and they tie Samson. Now when Samson goes there, he sees them, the Spirit of the Lord come, the ropes break, and he takes a donkey jawbone, he grabs them and he kills 1,000 men. And then he sings a song, "With the donkey's jawbone, I made donkeys of them. With the donkey's jawbone, I've killed 1,000 men." He does that. He threw away this jawbone, and the place was called Ramath Lehi. Now he became very thirsty, and he says, "You have given your servant this great victory. Must I now die of thirst?" Now Lord opens a hollow place, and water comes out of it, and Samson drinks it. So the spring was called En Hakore. Now, why do you think God is actually helping? God is, providing water to Samson. What does it tell us about what he has been disobedient? He has been reckless. He's hot-tempered. His desires are so great. He doesn't care. So why do you think God is still doing this for Samson? Anyone? Eben, Jatin, Angel? Can I have some answer? Okay, Alishan, if you have, go ahead. Why do you think, he's quite bad, right? I mean, he's not obeyed God. He's been disobedient. So why does God decide to still give him water?
He gave him chances to improve.
He gave him chance to improve. Anything else? Yeah, very true. Because God forgave him. Yes, God forgave him. Okay, but yeah, it's actually not that God has forgiven him, because you forgive. I mean, God will forgive when the person is asking for forgiveness, actually. Anything else? Because God is patient and God is also faithful. God is not doing tit for tat. You did this to me, so I will punish you like that. It's not like that. God is always faithful. God is loving. God is willing to work with us again and again. Today, many people think that God is angry with me or God is purposely punishing me. It's not like that. God is not like us. We think we project ourselves on God. Well, God, oh, we say God is purposely doing because he's maza aa raha hai usko. He likes to torture me. Actually, we are projecting our nature on God and thinking he's like that, but God is not like that. God is always willing to work with the weak, even with the sinners. He's not going to desert them. He's willing to work with them. It's because he is good, not because they are cute. It's because he is good. He's faith. So he's true to his character. That's very, very important. Yeah. Now, then God opened up, and anyway, Samson takes his word. And then Samson, it seems he led Israel for 20 years. So there was 20 years of some kind of peace. Samson cooled down. He was changed at that moment by God's loving gesture, and he was quiet. But then again, see, one day Samson went to Gaza, again a place out of Israel, a place full of Philistines, where he saw a prostitute. He went in to spend. Again, it is the eyes that causes. Again, he looked at the wrong place. He went into a wrong location, and that's it. So going to a place, which is unknown, you go there and you go in the wrong area, or you go with the wrong people. You look here and there. Wrong things are going to happen. Now, do you think it's very important for me to ask you this question? Now, I went to Gaza. Gaza was outside of Israel. It was another place where Philistines were there. Do you think a young person is more likely to fall in temptation in his hometown or when he goes away from his hometown? Which is the more dangerous place for him? Do you think he will fall in temptation, like he can be strayed away, or he will act impulsively when he's in his neighborhood, or when he goes away when nobody knows him, nobody sees him? Away, yeah, correct. Eben is answered. Thank you, Eben. It's when you're going away, you know why? Because you're alone. Privacy. Nobody's can see you. Your uncle, auntie, friends, nobody's there around to watch over you. So you can do what you want. And that's correct, Angel, when he or she goes away. Do you know many youngsters today are fighting because they want to go away and study? But they say we want to go away and study. We are tired of living here. We want to go as my friends are gone. They want freedom. But in reality, what they want is they want to satisfy their desires. They don't want any discipline. They want to be away where nobody will bother them. And it is very, very destructive. Now, I'm not saying that you should not go wherever, abroad or wherever, if you want to study, but you should do it prayerfully. Because if your motive is wrong, then that very thing is going to happen. So do not take your career decisions, like going away and all, just because everybody's doing it, or with a wrong motive, or fool yourself into thinking that I want to do this, I want to go abroad, I want to do this, I want to go to this place and study, or when your motive is wrong. It is so. I was speaking to somebody and that person finally confessed that I am tired of my mother watching. I want to go. Now, sometimes parents are overdoing it also. I can understand. But you need to talk. You need to get an elder, church pastor, talk it out. Maybe. But escaping like this in the name of study is going up is very, very, can be dangerous. But today, of course, people are traveling because there are certain courses not available in India, or you have to work for career. If your motive is right and if you prayed about it, go ahead and do it. But for a Christian young person, you should only do that after prayer. You cannot take a logical decision. Oh, this course is not available here, I will go ahead and do it. You can fall into it. Do you know why? Because every evening you're alone in the hostel. You don't know what to do. All your friends are going out with their girlfriends, or the girlfriends are going out with their boyfriends. On weekend, you're doing nothing. You're lonely. you're missing home, you're emotionally very weak, and it is a very ripe ground for temptations to come. So don't play with fire. Don't get into a place where you know you're going to be very so it's very, very, everybody around you is enjoying their life. They are loose people. What will you do? It's so you're away from family, you're away from your old friends, you're away from the church. It's going to be very difficult. So yes, I'm saying that there are people who are able to do that also. Go, they find a good church sometimes and all, but do that prayerfully. I'm not against going abroad, but I'm saying this is a danger. Yeah, Samson would always go away from his Israel and fall into temptation. Away from Israel, God's people fall because there's nobody there to check on. When you're alone, you do what you want. Your character is what you do in the dark. So it's very, very important. You see that. Okay. Anyway, let's move ahead. So put a check on yourself, even going away with your friends, to some place. I will come, going for camping and all. It can be very, very because people, kids, youngsters behave in a very, very bad way. There's a fascination of many youngsters to go to Goa. It's not really beach, it's to drink and to mess around with the foreigners and all who come there. It's very, very dangerous. But Samson lay there. Okay, so anyway, he goes, lies down with the prostitute. The more trouble comes, the enemy comes and surrounds him. He breaks the city gate and he tore them loose. They are not able to capture him. Sometime later, he fell in love with a woman in the valley of Sorek, whose name was Delilah. The ruler of the Philistines went to her and said, see if you can lure him into the showing you the secret of great strength and how can we overpower him. So once again, they are telling, the Philistines are saying, this is Delilah. Now, this is where Delilah comes. So Delilah was not the first woman in Samson's life. There was another woman. Then, of course, there was this prostitute in between. And then now it's Delilah. So he goes. And then they again tell you get the secret of his strength. So Samson gives a different answer each time. 3 times she's asking him, and he gives a wrong answer. He said, do this, do this, do this. But every time they come to catch him, he gets up. So she gets very, very upset. And then you see what she says. Now, again, look at these words. How can you say, I love you when you won't confide in me? This is the 3rd time you made a fool of me. Haven't told me the secret of your great strength. With such nagging, she prodded him day after day until he was sick to death of it. And he finally told her everything. That no razor has been. So if you cut my hair, I will lose all my strength. Now what's happening here? What is Delilah doing? Delilah was promised money. There was no threat. She was promised a lot of money, 1,000, 1,100 shekels. And 10 shekels was the average salary for a year. So she was offered lots of money, 1,100 shekels. Now tell me, what was Delilah doing here? Was she being faithful to Samson? Isn't she repeating the same trap? Can I get some response? Do you not see the same words? Yeah, if you love me, you will do this. See the trap. It is going to come for you also. Be very careful. Yeah. Now, why is important question? Okay. Now, let me see if one of the, yes, she's again blackmailing. Thank you. Why is Samson not able to see this? Why can't Samson see that Delilah is actually fooling him? Because first time he tells her, she goes and tells those guys, they come to catch him, and she ties his hair also, but nothing happens. Second time, third time, why cannot he see that she is fooling him? Anyone? Come on, Jatin, let me hear you say something. Angel, why can't he realize this girl is playing games with me here? ये इनसे मिली हुई है, ये मेरा नुकसान कर रही है. Why can't he see that? Anyone? I mean, isn't it obvious? Shouldn't he see? Shouldn't he know that this is second time same thing is happening to me? Why can't he? Why is he not? Arey, this is not going to be. ये तो उनके साथ मिली हुई है. I should not trust her. Why? Come on. What's your answer? Angel, Eben, Alishina, Jatin, why can't he see the truth clearly? Come on. Have you seen people sometimes who keep taking advantage of somebody, but that person doesn't know only, cannot realize it? Have you seen that? Ah, okay. Thanks. Jatin is traveling. Okay. Thanks. Have you seen somebody, maybe one of your friends or somebody around you? They keep taking advantage again and again, but these people cannot realize it. Anybody? Because people can become emotionally brittle. They can be manipulated when they are emotional. And Samson was a highly emotional person. We saw how he got angry. He cannot control his passion, desires. He starts feeling lonely. God has deserted him. He starts accusing God. Are you going to leave me? Are you going to let me die? So emotions are very, very dangerous. Emotions can blind you. They can manipulate you. A person who knows how to control you emotionally will always keep manipulating, and you won't even come to know. So don't be an emotional. Learn to control your emotions. Don't be led by emotions. Do you do that? Ye dil mange more. What my heart tells me, I do. Your heart is desperately wicked. That's what the Bible says. Never trust your feelings. Never even trust your thoughts, because your thoughts will always be guided by your feelings. Always trust the word of God. And have you heard of this term called rebound? Have you heard of this term called rebound? Does anyone know what rebound is? Anyone knows? It means you are not yet over your previous relationship, and you are too soon in another relationship, and you're carrying the baggage of that relationship. Samson had already lost the girl he loved. He did not want to lose Delilah. So even though she was crooked, she was lying, he was emotionally enslaved. He was too much afraid of losing her also. So he was willing to get manipulated. That is the worst thing that can happen. So if you think today that I'm going to be a tomboy or I'm going to be a popular girl, I can jump from one relationship to the other. Let me tell you, each relationship is going to take a part of you. It is going to take your strength away. It is going to make you increasingly weak. And you will never be able to form a healthy relationship. You understand? You will become a slave. You will be taken for a toss. You will be unsatisfied, angry, upset also at times, because you are still hurt and wounded because of your previous relationship that has gone wrong. So please understand, this is not something you take it for this. Poor Samson, he could not even see that Delilah was trapping him again and again, and he finally gave her the truth because she nagged him. He only brought about his and then we see finally that they capture him, and then the Philistine they gouge out his eyes, and then the death of Samson, they keep him in the prison. But it's very interesting. After they shave his head, Now what has happened is they are singing in their temple. They say, God, our God has delivered our enemy in this hands. And then Samson says, take me to the pillars. And and they humiliate him, they make him dance, and finally he says, take me to the pillar and tie me there. And he pushes that, he says, God, let me die with, it says, give me one chance, God, let me kill these Philistines, because he was supposed to do that. That was the work of the judge, to lead Israel against their enemies. So he says, Lord, he prays to God, sovereign Lord, remember me, please, God, strengthen me just one more, just give me one chance. And let me get one blow and take revenge on this Philistine for my 2 eyes. And then let me die. And then he does that. He breaks the temple wall, pillars that he said, he destroys that, and then and then the temple falls, and then 3,000 die. Okay. And, then family comes and takes away his body. But it's very interesting. Now, why did God listen to Samson? In the end, what does it tell us about God? God could have destroyed the Philistines without Samson also, but why did God, even in the end, listen to Samson? God has given him chance after chance. Anyone? We are just finishing quickly. Anyone? Come on, quickly. Alishina, Eben, Angel, please put it on the chat, otherwise I'll unmute and answer. Why did God not say, I'm not, Samson, you die now, I don't care. Why did God still listen to Samson? Because God is patient, yeah, because God is merciful. Now here he's praying, he's praying, he's asking God. And there is no end to God's mercy. God is patient when you are not repenting, okay? When God is still say, okay, one more chance. But now God is patient, and for us, God is merciful. God is always willing to forgive us when we come to it. And much more today, because of the sacrifice of Christ. God will never stop loving us. Even at the end of the day, end of your life, even like the thief on the cross, if you turn to him, he will always forgive. Yeah, because God loved him. Very nicely said. Despite his sinfulness, God loved him, and he was willing to give him another chance. Okay, now here's something. Of course, this applies more to the New Testament love. Because of Jesus Christ, we are loved by God forever. God is not going to love us based on our mistakes, but because of what Christ has done, we are loved. And no matter how many times we fall, God will always have mercy. I'm going to just draw your attention to this very beautiful text right in the end. See, look at this. They seized him. Okay, it says they took him from his sleep, and after putting him to sleep, she shaved off the 7 braids of his hair. Okay, and that's when his strength left him. Okay, his strength left him, and then he got up, and then we see, then the Philistines seized him, took him down to bound him with bronze shackles, this grinding, but the hair on his head had began to grow again after it had been shaved. So they had shaved him, when they captured him, but now his hair had slowly started growing again. You see, God's love and mercy will always keep growing in our life. He will never give up on us. Never. Never. He loves us because of what Christ has done. And so never ever think that you're too bad, that you're useless to return to God. He will always love you. He'll always welcome you with open arms, like the prodigal son. The father ran and kissed him. That is how God is. His love will always be growing on you. His mercy will always keep growing back like Samson's hair. Yeah, and you will always be blessed. You'll always be chosen. Yeah. Now, One important thing to please remember, I'm sorry if I'm taking more time. If you're talented, if you're strong, if you're intelligent, if you have some ability, it will never be enough for you to go through life. What you always need is the fear of the Lord, to be obedient to the Lord. Because Samson was strong, he had an incredible gift, he had ability, but it was corrupted because he had no character, he had no self-control. Okay, the Bible says a person who has no self-control is like a city without walls. It can be plundered easily. So no matter how intelligent you are, how brilliant you are, how gifted you are, how talented you are, you have some skill and thing, it will all go away. It will not be, it will cannot save you. Unless you don't follow the Lord, you fear the Lord, unless you don't obey his commandments and work on your character, whatever success you got will also go out of your hands. So please remember that your passion, your desires, if you don't know how to control that, how to put them to death, they will corrupt and destroy everything of your life. So don't waste your life as Samson did. He was chosen, he was a Nazarite, he was brought up, but he never controlled his desires. He had no, whatever he wanted, he did. Whatever he saw, he wanted. He never controlled his temper, and see how his life was tragically destroyed. So learn, yes, God is merciful and loving, but we will be responsible for our destruction if we don't know how to control ourselves, if we don't know how to fear the Lord, if we don't know how to walk in the Lord's word, obey daily, we will end up destroying ourselves. Okay, so that's a lesson for you. God bless everyone. Thank you for your patience and for listening to the lecture. Okay. Bye, everyone. Good night. God bless.